we are going to take a look at another line in another game that, boy, oh boy, it's certainly all one-sided there. Portland and Houston, and all the money, all the tickets there going towards the Houston Rockets, up to 5 now. I'm actually seeing maybe even more than that in some places. So, Teddy, I'm coming to you, my friend. We kind of we talked about this game in the morning, and we were going, wow, it's a lot of love for this Houston Rockets team. So let's talk from a contrarian angle. Is Portland a team you would consider looking at here tonight?
So I can understand the market desire to fade Portland. All right, when you're without McCollum and you're without Zach Collins and you're without the Blazers are missing like 4 key rotation pieces right now. Covington's out tonight, Nurkic out tonight, Collins out tonight, McCollum out tonight, all of whom are impact players for the Blazers and playing their 3rd game in 4 nights off a home loss to OKC. You can understand why the markets are moving to Houston. All that said, Rockets were laying 3 to Washington 2 days ago, and now they're laying 5 to Portland. And I'm sorry, even without the injuries, I've got the Blazers power rated ahead of the Wizards. So all the money coming on the favorite, not for this better. I think right now, Houston is overpriced. This is not a team I'm comfortable laying points with, and not a team with any real home court advantage.
Great work, Teddy Covers. Look at you, man. Our commercial before the show begins. Teddy Covers, I'm Lawrence Presman. It's WagerTalk Today, everybody. Welcome, and I hope you have a great Friday. Rob Veno right off the top, Mr. Covers, Milwaukee, New Orleans, Dallas versus Utah, and Boise State, Colorado State game. And then Andy Lang. He's going to talk props. Some of the Super Bowl props, a lot of the Super Bowl props are already out. Andy's going to tell us 3, and I'll tell you, dude, I love all 3 of these props he's going to give out. And a basketball play. But first, lead story. Wise guy night at the Westgate. Tell us about it, Teddy. And were you there? Because no man is wiser than you.
I was not there last night. I've been really focused on hoops of late, and it's paying off, and I'm going to keep focusing on hoops and not worried about the one game 2 weeks from now in the Super Bowl at that same level. Of course, we have an opinion on the big game, and we'll have a recommendation for the clients. But right now, my focus is most assuredly on basketball and much less on the Super Bowl. All that said, the Thursday before the Thursday night, between the week off before the Super Bowl is traditionally in Las Vegas. It's the only wise guy party a year that I know of, that happens every year. And it's something to see and be seen. When you go down to the Westgate and you see all the props unroll and you see all these guys with the thick wads 100. I'm not talking the little wads 100. These are the thick wads 100s, and going up and pounding those openers into shape. It's something I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't. And if you're ever in Vegas on that Thursday, I encourage you, go to the Westgate. Check out the only wise guy party in the world.
There you go. Teddy Covers giving us some inside info about a party that none of us were invited to.
Everyone's invited to it. It's open. And of course, the one thing that you'll never see on the opening night when the props open at the Westgate Superbook, you never see the coin flip getting pounded. Some other books, the coin flip gets pounded. At the Westgate, they'll give you 102 on either side. Still can't make money with it.
Yeah, so I've really delved deep into the coin flip. I've studied the math. I hired a couple of actuaries from MIT. 50-50. That's what mostly. It is.
Although again, even with if you want action before the game starts, okay, and you want to bet the 50-50, it's fine. People can have action. They want action on the coin flip, have action. But you can lay minus 110 on the coin flip. You can lay minus 105 on the coin flip. You can lay minus 102 on the coin flip. You know, at least give yourself a reduced juice option with that particular wager.
All my research, my charting, my modeling, my analysis, it suggested minus 102 would be the better way to go.
Yes.
Rob Veno! Oh my God, Rob Veno, man. Like, I don't know. Can you be hotter? And I'm not talking physically, no disrespect. What are you, man? In the last 7 days alone, 24 wins, 12 losses. You were the number one NBA expert last year. You are rolling in NBA again right now. Why don't you brag a little, my friend?
It's hard for me to brag, Prez. I would rather have people like yourself, high-profile people like yourself, notice that I'm doing well and brag about me for me, so others don't have to hear it coming out of my mouth. But it's been great. NBA, I think 22-6 and a push last 29 plays. So racking up the return on investment once again. We're closing in on that number one spot for NBA handicapping at WagerTalk. I think I'm 2 right now. And it wasn't that way early on, Prez. I mean, 11 games into the season, I was back of the pack. But last couple of weeks, we found a rhythm, and it's just been rolling ever since.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, it's such a great time to grab your NBA plays because it's funny. I was looking at it. I mean, not 2 weeks ago, Rob, and you were just sort of meandering around. And now you're off to the races. And if this year is anything like last year, I mean, you're going to remain, I wouldn't say hot, but I mean, you are going to remain hot for a long, long time. So guys, get your pens out. I know you have them. Ralph is on at the end of the show. Get your pens out and write down whatever Rob Veno has to say about the NBA. And let's start right off the top. Rob, Milwaukee -7 versus New Orleans. Look, both off of a win. Is 7 too much?
You know, if you just go by power ratings, Prez, and I'll speak for myself, 7 is too much. I think it's priced too high. I think my numbers made this game Milwaukee in the 3.5-4 range. So 7 obviously padded. Not necessarily sure why it's padded from an odds maker standpoint. Now I'll counter all of that by saying I like Milwaukee -7. So Rob, how can your numbers say no and you go ahead and say yes? But so much of it is always based on matchups, right, guys? You know, the odds maker doesn't sit around and compare starting units and compare benches and everything else. They might look at the injury report and make an addition or subtraction to their number. But generally speaking, they're not looking at matchups. Let's start with the Pelicans, who right now, guys, they just haven't grabbed on to Stan Van Gundy's offensive system or defensive system for that matter. It's a team that went in football. We can really use this comparison when a head coach in college is like an air raid head coach. He gets fired and they go and hire a run-oriented coach, right? It takes a long time for that personnel to get used to what the new coach is preaching. It's the same here. The difference between Alvin Gentry and Stan Van Gundy is light years. And New Orleans hasn't grasped it yet. It's a young team that wants to run. Stan Van wants them to slow down and play defense. Hasn't really worked. I think the forward matchups here might neutralize each other. Chris Middleton and Giannis on one side, Zion and Brandon Ingram on the other side. If they do, the remainder of the team really falls into the Bucks' favor. Guard position especially. We'll get to see this trade in action that they made tonight, guys. Drew Holiday from New Orleans to Milwaukee, Eric Bledsoe from Milwaukee to New Orleans. Holiday, to me, rates a pretty big edge. Here's what I see as keys to this game, and it comes down to shooting. The Bucks are the 4th best three-point shooting team in the NBA. Coach Bud builds his teams on three-point shooting. The Bucks, once again, right up the top of the list. The Pelicans, 4th worst three-point shooting team in the league. Bunch of guys who can't shoot it from 3. If you go to the foul line, I think free throws could make a big difference here. We know Giannis has had his problems at the free throw line, but 7 of the Bucks' top 8 in their rotation shoot 75% or better from the free throw line. So if you get rid of Giannis, The rest of these guys all shoot them well, and you can't just get rid of Giannis. I shouldn't say it that way because he's going to shoot his share of free throws. But the remainder of this team shoots really well. The other side of that coin is 4 of the Pelicans' top 6 shoot 69% or less. So it's not just Zion that doesn't shoot them. It's not just Steven Adams that doesn't shoot them well. They generally don't shoot them well. The guys that are going to go to the line are not good free throw shooters. I'll leave everybody with this quick note here. Second halves for New Orleans have been a disaster. They were 1-8 against the spread in the second half up until their last game when they played a depleted Washington team and raised that record to 2-8 against the spread. I'm not sure there's an advantage, though, because the Bucks are 0-5 against the spread second half in their last 5 games, generally for a different reason. They're up and they kind of lay off the gas pedal. Hopefully that doesn't happen here tonight. It's a nationally televised game. I don't think it will. But I'm going to go against my numbers here, guys, and say that Milwaukee, the team that can play a little bit of defense when called upon, they haven't shown it consistently this year, but when needed, they can. And New Orleans just in scramble mode right now, and even talking about early trades. Lonzo Ball's name is all over the place right now as a guy who doesn't fit into this system. There's more than just him. So give me the Bucks -7, even though I think it's overpriced.
So when we talk about New Orleans as a disappointing team, and I don't know, there's been a more disappointing team this season than New Orleans Pelicans. And then you look at the roster and you can kind of understand it. And you think about Stan Van Gundy, you can kind of understand it. Milwaukee, to me, I'm not going to say an equal disappointment, but the Bucks haven't been as elite in early season play as they were last year. My power number still shows a 7 for this game. Do you think the Bucks are every bit as good as they were a year ago right now, or do you think this team is still going through some early season growing pains?
Yeah, Teddy, I think the biggest difference is on the defensive side of the ball, right? Their defensive efficiency rating is down the charts when last year, I believe they were either 1 or 2 on the defensive side of the ball, and they don't play well beyond the arc. They haven't defended the 3 well. And that's why I said earlier, they play in spurts when called upon, they can, but they just don't seem to have that defensive edge to them right now. What's lucky for them is New Orleans doesn't shoot the 3 ball. That's probably their weakness aside from free throw shooting. And like I say, to me, those are the 2 keys to this game. But I would agree with you that Milwaukee has a lot of room to still grow.
Rob Veno, everybody. Rob, I don't have a problem with you going against your numbers. Your instincts in NBA are outstanding. I personally, if I'm betting your plays, I'd rather have your instincts than your numbers. Dallas, Utah, what a game last time they played. Total blowout, but the total, whoa. It should have gone. Teddy left that out of his bad beat segment, but that was a bad beat for anyone sitting on the over. Same total again here tonight, 222. Utah -3.5. Dallas going to show up this time around?
I'm going to raise my hand here, Prez, as somebody who suffered in that bad beat with Dallas and Utah over the other night. The fourth quarter was that ever-present graveyard where overs go to die. It happened in that game. Utah had scored 30-plus in every single quarter. Fourth quarter, they come out and score about 16 or 17. Just didn't work. But I'm right back to the well with the over. If you can get the 220 with no Donovan Mitchell, and believe me, if you get Donovan Mitchell in this game, I don't have any confirmation, yes or no, as of right now as we do this show. But if you get Donovan Mitchell, you'll be happy you bet over right now, because later on, this thing will zoom up 3-4 points easily. But regardless, I'm making this play regardless of Donovan Mitchell's status for this ball game. Dallas welcomed back 3 more returnees to their lineup after a long layoff with health and safety protocols in the NBA. Those 3 guys that came back were key components to this team. They combined to go 4 of 16 for 25% from the floor in that contest against Utah the other night. I think you chalk all of that up to a little bit of rust, a long layoff. And now with Dallas having their bench back at full strength, with Luka having Kristaps not on a back-to-back, he'll be in the lineup with him. I think you'll get to see more of that Dallas offense. Let me just rattle off some numbers here for the Utah Jazz, who have been hotter than hot can be, and especially on the offensive end. 7 of their last 10 games, they've scored 116 plus. Even without Mitchell the other night, you saw other guys step up, take over his scoring portion, and get to 116. Dallas has allowed 112 or better in 8 straight games. Dallas is what Dallas is. They're a good offensive team and a poor defensive team. Utah, very strong offensively. Quinn Snyder pushes the pace with this squad. Again, if you can get the 220 the other night with the lineups as they were in the second game, in this rematch game, I think you can easily get up and over 222. It only takes another couple baskets, another couple free throws. I think the improvement for the returnees happens here. I think Dallas plays really good offense this game. They didn't last game. And Utah is just Utah. I don't think, honestly, guys, I don't think offensively they can be stopped at this point in time. I would pencil them in for 114, 115, whether Mitchell plays or not.
Now, Dallas had shown some signs of defensive improvement early in the season. Then the injury struck, and obviously you talked about their recent form not being as good defensively. Do you think this Mavs team can be an average NBA defensive team when all's said and done, or do you think they're still going to be a below-average NBA team, which obviously leaves them without much hope when the postseason rolls around?
I think the latter, TC, and I'll say this. This is just my opinion. I think that their defensive numbers were a bit inflated to start the season by the fact that Rick Carlisle, the head coach, had to slow them down a little bit because Luka reported in out of shape. Luka didn't have the stamina early on. Remember, he wanted to play in one of those European leagues during the offseason to maintain his conditioning. That league got shut down by coronavirus. He couldn't maintain his conditioning. So when he showed up, I think Carlisle slowed them down tempo-wise on purpose. And when you slow a game down tempo-wise, your defensive numbers go up by mistake. Dallas able to be back to who they truly are now, which is the same group as they were last year, plus Josh Richardson, who does bring a defensive component to their mix. But I think they're still average to below average defensively. I think they're well above average offensively. And I think as the season goes on now, we'll start to see that show up, and Dallas will resemble the Mavericks of last year a lot more.
Awesome stuff, Rob. Your breakdowns are just outstanding. Boise State playing Colorado State tonight. -1, -1.5 in this game for Boise. Help us.
Nothing but Boise money this morning. Those 1.5s are gone, long gone now. We're seeing 2.5s and 3s on the board right now.
Well, there you go. Prez was riding the Peloton while others were betting Boise State. I think I win on that, Teddy. It's healthier being
it's
on
your job
Peloton.
It's your job to host the show.
There he goes.
Check
There
the
he
lines
goes.
morning.
There he goes.
Again, you forgot to do that.
Blah,
because you're
blah,
riding your
blah,
bike.
blah, 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 Rob Veno, please handicap this game.
All right, guys, listen, for me, the majority of this handicap is as simple as this. Boise State's a gifted offensive team that's gone through two very sluggish offensive performances in a row. 38.8% shooting against Fresno State 2 games ago, 38.2 in this opener against Colorado State 2 nights ago. Boise State had not shot less than 41%, but twice all season until those games happened. It's a team that's really, really, like I say, gifted offensively. Leon Rice, their head coach, has said so. I think there's a bounce back here against Colorado State. The Colorado State side, guys, effective field goal percentage, this is the number 18 team in the country. They're good inside. They're good outside. I don't think that the amount of points they scored in that opener against Boise State, 78 to be exact, is a fluke by any means. This is a team that just came off 2 performances against Utah State, which is the 7th ranked defensive team by Ken Pom in defensive efficiency. Those 2 games totaled 147 or better. Colorado State lacked a little bit of offense in the first meeting, saw Utah State's defense torched at the second meeting. I don't think either team gets stopped here. I'm hoping, I got this number 144.5 last night. Hopefully it doesn't go up much higher than this. It stays a little bit still. I think it's going to get over the number. Like I said, I think Boise bounces back. I think Colorado State, Boise real quick here, guys. If you look at overall defensive statistics, they look pretty gaudy, as do the offensive. So you have to get both sides here. But the schedule wasn't real gaudy, right? Boise State hasn't played the toughest part of the Mountain West as of yet. They're about to. They saw a lot of weaklings from the Mountain West early on. Colorado State got them a couple nights ago. I think Boise makes the adjustments here. I think the shooting is too good. I think the offense is too good to be held down again. I think he got to 134 the other night. You're asking him to get better than 145 here, which is another 12 points. I don't see any reason why that doesn't happen. So give me Boise State, Colorado State in a bounce back game offensively for Boise over the total.
Teddy, so are you now going to lecture me, or are you going to know that you speak
course,
after?
because after the third game, what happens is we come back to you and you say, thank you, Rob Veno. What do you have to promote? And then we go to break. And then Teddy, I come back with B. But if you don't want to do your job, we'll find someone that does. Rob, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell us.
Yeah, you've never asked a question after the third guest, ever in history. God, are you anal today? Rob,
not when it's
you're awesome, man.
Not when
Be
it's
good.
21
Right
after.
back Teddy, shut up, man. Just
Rob's
shut up.
Promote. You can't cut him off until he gets to promote, bro.
Just
let
shut
him promote.
up. Shut up. Rob, if you'd like to promote something in your humble, beautiful tone, please do, because I can't listen to this frickin' guy anymore.
No problem, Prez. Real quick, guys, NBA for today will be posted within the next couple hours. Again, we take a real close look at these injury reports for the NBA. It's always a kind of staggered league. You know, you never know what you're going to get. But needless to say, NBA is running real well. They will be up and posted within a couple hours here. Check them all out at WagerTalk.com.
Awesome stuff, guys. Quick break. We're right back with Andy Lang. We're going to get Teddy a little bit of, I'm calling his wife. I'm going to get him a sash in the break, something to put a bloody smile on this man's face. So much more, including his big game breakdown, blah, blah, blah. Totally rattled Teddy. 20 seconds, we're right back.
Have you ever wanted to create your own WagerTalk Dream Team? We're excited to announce you can build your own superstar handicapping lineup using our Pick Your Team program at WagerTalk.com. Even more exciting, for a limited time, you can save up to 55% on your favorite 2 or 3 handicappers and pay as little as $1.99 for a full month of picks. Dave Koken, Marco D'Angelo, Yanni the Greek, Ralph Michaels, Teddy Covers, Hakeem Prophet, Tony Finn, Rob Veno, Brian Leonard. The combinations are endless. Who will make your dream team lineup? Just go to WagerTalk.com, click Pick Your Team, and personally hand-select your handicapping roster. Our Dream Team promotion is only being offered for a little limited time before going back to regular price, so please make sure to take advantage of this incredible offer.
It's time for a little bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books. Had a couple sent via Twitter yesterday. David Sharp talked about the Clippers pulling a Chris Webber. Clips Heat, the under was 213, maybe 212.5, and it was under the whole way. Miami's down 6 with 30 seconds left. LA calls a timeout without any left, equals Miami free throw and possession, equals a Bam Adebayo bucket, equals it's a 3-point game, equals it's another foul, equals another made free throw, equals the game sneaks over, finishes 214. Tough beat for underbettors. Another one sent from Twitter, Javier Tamaya. Thank you for sending these along. Oregon State plus 12.5 at USC. The Beavers are down 7 with just over a minute to play. And they foul, and they foul again, and they foul again. And now it's 11. Okay, USC won final possession. They're not going to dribble out. It's college. They missed the shot instead of dribbling out. No big deal. But then they get the offensive rebound and missed another shot, and then another offensive rebound, and then Isaiah White laid it in, and then one last Oregon State three-pointer is no good, and voila. You got a really tough beat from the kids from Corvallis, Oregon State plus 12.5. That was tough against USC. And there's one that I saw. What about Middle Tennessee? They're plus 10.5. They're up 10. Up 10 at home, plus 10.5 against UAB, less than 10 minutes to play. You're supposed to cash those tickets. Then a 28-5 run for the Blazers. Then the Blue Raiders hit a 3 to cut the lead to 10. There's only seconds to play. Oh, they're going to cover. But there's no dribbling out in college hoops. One last foul, down 10. They end up losing by 11. Tough beat for Blue Raiders backers last night. Bad bets in the NBA. You saw the promo at the top of the show. The Rockets are bet from -2 to -5 against the Blazers. Closed 4.5. Portland shorthanded, but Anthony Simons hit the three that mattered late. Rockets only win by 3. It wasn't a bad beat. The Rockets weren't the right side in that game. It wasn't bad for the books, even though it landed in the middle. The early money was on Houston. It was higher than 3 all day. So we'll call it a bad bet with the Rockets. Speaking of Houston and bad bets, they bet against the Houston Cougars in college hoops last night. -17.5 down to -15 at Tulane. The Cougs won by 23. And Arizona, the Wildcats, from -5.5 up to -9 against shorthanded Stanford. Well, the Wildcats were flat off those 2 Arizona State wins, lost outright by 9. Bad for books. Well, I think I was the only one that liked the Warriors yesterday. Phoenix bet from pick to -2. They won the game by 21. Golden State flat and tired on the second of back-to-backs. That wasn't a good result for the house. Wise guy party on the Detroit Pistons last night, but not a true disaster. The public was on the Lakers. Nonetheless, books that cater to wise guys took a beating with Detroit, and Detroit on the money line. Another one that was bad for books. The sharp money knew that Michigan State wasn't ready. That was a wise guy special yesterday in college hoops. Rutgers money all day. They closed -3. They blew Sparty out in the second half. And a legit middle last night in college hoops. That's never great for the house. Gonzaga and San Diego. Zags opened 26.5. They closed 28.5, 29, and it lands right on 28. Books paid out both sides in that game. That, another bad for the books. There you have it, Lawrence. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Back to you, my friend.
Teddy Covers, outstanding job, dude. I've calmed myself. I namaste'd. I went into the lotus. I did the dog. I did the tree. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think they're all yoga moves. Anyway, you got a 5% play in NBA tonight. Why don't you promote yourself a little, and then I've got a promo code to give out for you.
I've got a 5% in the NBA tonight.
There you go. Teddy rocks. Hyperbole from the man. Guys, Teddy 30, TEDDY 30. That gets you a 30-day all-access pass to Teddy for $199. It's good for a week, but use it today and get his 5% play. Shout out to everyone in the chat room. Raymond Reddington, who's on your blacklist today? Joseph, Chip, Frenchie, Jim, Glenn, Gareth, Watch Me Now, Ashley Waite, hello. Andy Lang, hello. Last time I introduced you as Jeff Saturday, and people actually thought you were Jeff Saturday for a second. Welcome to Wager Talk Today. Teddy and I are having a little lover's quarrel. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I was so jealous hearing Teddy's story about the big prop party. That is such a bucket list for me. I can't wait to come out there and do that night. Hopefully Teddy can join me. That sounds like so much fun, right up my alley. So that is one thing I want to do later on, because it's the greatest prop event of the year, Super Bowl. So been studying it basically every day. Get up in the morning, spend an hour or two studying NFL props for when they come out. So loving it.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, for me, I couldn't think of anything more satisfying and fun than hanging out with a bunch of wise guys at the Westgate. Yeah, talking sports all day, talking betting. I mean, Jesus, man, like, I never do that. Oh, my God.
That's the difference between the way, I mean, we're just wired a little differently. You know, you're happy watching. You will enjoy yourself at home, cuddling on the couch with your girl, watching Queen's Gambit. And I can't imagine ever enjoy. I mean, that's just not. I don't like that. I'd rather, to me, hanging out at the Westgate with a bunch of sweaty wise guys talking about prop bets that we made 15 years ago is 100 times more fun.
Yeah,
you know, it's just fun.
Well, yeah,
and that's just a difference in how people are wired.
Only because they'll listen to you when you argue. I can just see you watching. Friends. Joey, stop doing that, man. Joey, didn't you prepare? Why didn't you prepare? Anyway, Andy Lang, let's get into it. Super Bowl props. We're going to talk now. We're going to have you on again. Also, guys, make sure to watch the NFL presidential address. We're going to tape it on Monday. Andy Lang is going to make a guest appearance for the entire show. It's going to be me, Andy, Ralph, and Matt. Andy Thomas Brady, his 10th Super Bowl. What kind of prop you got for us on him?
Well, this is juicy, but in my opinion, it's not even juicy enough. To throw over 1.5 TDs, and it's only minus 215. He's gone over this total in all 3 playoff games. He's gone over this total in 10 straight games, 16 out of 19 games this season. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Tom Brady is probably going to be a big part of the Tampa Bay game plan in this game. The Chiefs have only held one. Yeah. Tune in for more expert advice. The Chiefs have only held one quarterback to under 1.5 touchdowns last 10 games. It was Baker Mayfield. With all due respect to Baker Mayfield, he is not Tom Brady. Listen, it's juicy. This line is only going to move in one direction, and that is not more towards the plus money. So I have already played this early, and that is part of my Super Bowl package. The last time these 2 teams played in the regular season, Brady had 3 TDs. So I think minus 215 at Brady over 1.5 TDs is a steal at this point.
And of course, Andy Lang will be joining me on my Sirius XM show, channel 204, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 a.m. Pacific Time on Saturday morning, breaking down Super Bowl props. And one thing I want to ask you about this one in particular, Andy. Why is it 1.5? How come we're talking about when you say Brady's gone over this number in 16 out of 19 games and the Chiefs defense gives up these touchdowns every week? Why is it sitting at 1.5? Shouldn't the number be higher?
I believe it should be higher, but as we see with these props every year, they put them out early and then they adjust very, very quickly. That's why it is so important to get your props bets in early. I already have a Super Bowl prop package that is up right now. It's been up since Monday. That way, the second I put a prop up, you get notified of it. So don't wait until next Friday to get a Super Bowl prop package. Go get it now. That way you can jump all over these early numbers. I mean, how many lines got moved at that party in Vegas? Probably quite a few. Yeah, many. And they got the best number. They just did. So that's what we're trying to do this week more than ever with props is beating the number. So when I see 1.5 TDs at minus 215, that's a lock for me.
Yeah, and I've been betting that over with Brady. Last week it was 2.5, so that number is going to end on 2.5, I think. So, guys, that's why we brought Andy on today.
Let me just jump in because that number.
Just stop.
I'm not trying to argue
Andy,
with you.
Tampa
What I'm trying to do is give our viewers accurate information. What you're going to see is 1.5s out there with juice on the over, and the 2.5s will be juiced to the under. You're not going to see the line move from 1.5 to 2 to 2.5. You're going to see books offering different prices and adjusting the juice accordingly.
Andy, I'm just going to ignore Teddy. Tampa Bay under 3.5 punts. Why do you like it?
Listen, Tampa Bay is not going to win this game by getting into a punting match. They just aren't. These 2 teams score a lot of points, and they're both going to be able to move the ball. So I this took a little bit of time to research. So in the last 4 games that the Chiefs have lost, where Mahomes, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill have played, so these are 4 games that the Chiefs have lost, where Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill have all played, the opposing team has averaged just shy of 35 points to beat the Chiefs. So if you're the Bucs, that's your magic number. You're aiming for 35 points, and they're not going to get their punting. The Bucs were a top 10 team converting 4th downs. They converted 62.5% of 4th downs in the regular season. Kansas City was 4th worst in 4th down defense, giving up first downs on 72% of the 4th down plays that they saw. And in the playoffs, the Browns only punted twice against Kansas City. Buffalo only punted 3 times. Tampa only punted over this 3.5 number in 1 playoff game. That was against the Saints, where it was pretty obvious Breeze and the Saints were struggling to move the ball. So I'm going to expect multiple attempts on 4th down if it gets to that point, and just not a lot of points, especially once you get to midfield. They need touchdowns. They got to get to that 35-point number. They're not going to do it punting the ball. So I'll take Tampa Bay under 3.5 punts.
So let me ask you this, because to me, this seems like the most important question if you're going to play a punt prop like that. Is this going to be one of those games where these two teams have 9-10 drives over the course of the game? Or is this going to be one of those games where these teams have 14-15 drives at the end of the game? What kind of pace do you see them playing at?
Well, it's hard to say. I think you could make the case that both teams want to keep the ball away from the other team's quarterback. And you've kind of seen both of these teams using their short passing game as almost their running game. So you're going to see a lot of short passes to Kelsey. I think you're going to see Leonard Fournette involved in the running game and the passing game. You see a little bit of Ronald Jones. It's really hard to say, but one overall big aspect about this game from a prop perspective is a lot of times we see unders hit. And one of the reasons a lot of unders has hit over the last 15, 20 years is really because of the New England Patriots. In the first quarter, they have a legendary slow pace. No, they do. They do not play fast. This was the Belichick-Brady strategy. So if your first quarter is nothing but short drives and punts just to figure out the other team, you're going to historically have a lot of unders. This is not the case with these two teams. And the other thing we don't get is there's no nervousness. There's no jitters from these teams. Mahomes is not nervous. He's been here. Andy Reid is not nervous. Tom Brady is not nervous. Bruce Arians doesn't have a nervous bone in his body. I don't see this slow start that we have traditionally seen from Super Bowls because of the teams. So I see a lot of offense. I'm going against, I know wise guys, and I've made a lot of money taking unders in Super Bowls. I'm shifting my thought process this year. I think there's going to be offense and a lot of ways moving the ball. Obviously, you're going to look for Tyreek Hill to get loose at least one time for a big play, but I think you see a lot of extended drives. I think Tampa wants to keep the ball away from Mahomes as much as possible.
Andy Lang, two more props. We got to get moving at 100 miles an hour. This prop I absolutely love. Will Tampa Bay convert a fourth down, -135? Will Kansas City convert a fourth down? You like yes to both? This is an awesome prop.
Yeah, both teams are top 10 in fourth down conversion percentages, and Kansas City is 72% unsuccessful in stopping opponents. That's third worst in the league. Tampa allows 54% conversions on fourth downs, and in the playoffs, the Chiefs have gone for it 3 times and gotten it 3 times. The Bucs have gone for it on fourth down twice in the playoffs and gotten it both times. So these teams are 5 for 5 going for it on fourth downs. I gotta believe that you're going to see some fourth down attempts from these two teams.
Trae Young, over 41.5 points, rebounds, assists. Let's get to that, and then we got to move on.
Yep, this is a huge number. Trae Young has been a stat machine recently. He went on that really bad stretch where we were cashing unders when he got in the argument with Collins on the Hawks. But listen, they've won 4 out of 5. The only loss was to Brooklyn in OT. No shame in that. And he's gone over this number easily in 4 straight games. And now they get Washington giving up a league worst 120.4 points per game. The other thing about this prop, the last 4 games he's gone over this total, he's done it with just points and assists. Did not even need the rebounds. So you're getting 41.5 with points and assists, and then the rebounds thrown in as a little freebie. It's a huge number, but I will play it over.
Awesome stuff, guys. Andy, you rock. We love having you on, man. Guys, you can see Andy on, you can hear Andy on Teddy's Sirius channel. Teddy, what time again? What channel?
Sirius
4 o'clock.
XM channel 204, 8 a.m. Pacific time. 8 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday morning. There's a replay again on Saturday night.
Guys, quick. No break, guys. Awesome stuff. Let's get Ralph right into the mix. Ralph Michaels, a joy, a pleasure, unlike some other people. But we're having a spat today. It's okay. It happens. Everybody fight. Ralph Michaels, how are you, my friend? What's going on with you today?
Are you two just arguing so you don't have to get each other a Valentine's Day present?
Can
I
you
got
imagine?
nothing to say to that.
Can you imagine me and Prez taking Valentine's gifts? Now that's a funny concept.
Well,
Well,
you know,
what do you got for us today?
I had an angle of the day, but Joe, don't post it because I went off grid. And there's only one HL game tonight, Prez. But I looked because they were off overtime. So I looked at overtime and no rest, and I thought that would be an interesting concept. So for the angle of the day, a team like Columbus that's off an overtime win at home with no rest and now an away favorite, good or bad? Overtime win at home, and now they're playing with no rest as an away favorite.
I say that's
I wouldn't know of.
Listen to these numbers. It's only happened 37 times since 2010. They are 29-8 plus 17.2 units, and teams like Columbus tonight in that situation have gone 11-0 since 2015. So, again, not enough of a sample size to make it say a wow, but perhaps those teams with no rest, playing off an overtime game, and now traveling on the road, there's some line value with them, so that would be Columbus this evening. Teddy, I wanted to look at NBA teams for our situation today. NBA teams off an overtime game. So I'm not pulling out anything specific that happened. I'm just going to look. So take a look. Joe's going to show us 3 different charts. The first chart is NBA teams off an overtime win. Take a look at those ATS numbers. If they're off a win, the next game they're 44%. If they're off a win as a favorite, 45%. If they're a win off a dog, 43%. Overall, just anyone off an overtime game, 46.6%. So an overtime team, it doesn't matter how many days between games. If a team wins in overtime, they're a 55% fade, a 44.8 play on. And if that team is off a dog in that overtime game, they are only 43% against the spread in their next game.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's modest. It's not anything that's going to move the needle for me significantly, but it's certainly worth noting that teams off that OT game have been in a pretty negative subset in the NBA, though it's not negative enough to say I can't play teams in that subset. But it's definitely worth. You need a pretty good reason to look at a team off an overtime game to back them next time out.
Well, let's take a look at teams off an overtime loss. So these are teams that lost in overtime. You see the top category is just overall 48.4%. That's a wash. If you're off a loss as a dog, you are actually 53.8%, and you are 57% to the over. Excuse me, the first one is if you are off a loss as a favorite. My apologies. The top one, the middle one there should be off a loss as a favorite. So if you lose as a favorite in overtime, you are 53.8%. You do bounce back. If you are off a loss as a dog, the same thing as winning as a dog. You're about 43%. And Teddy, I'll get back to you after one more segment Joe shows us. Look at these numbers with no rest. Now, all of these numbers only go back since 2017. But if you're off a win and no rest, you're 32% against the spread and you're 33% over under. If you're off a loss and no rest, you're 50% ATS and you're 62.5% to the under. Is it fair to say if you're off a win and you have no rest, you are perhaps what Marco would call fat and sassy, and you're only 32.1% the next time?
Yes, Marco calls him fat and sassy. I call him fat and happy. But absolutely, a team wins a hard-fought overtime game. They use up whatever limited resources of energy they have. Next time out, it's not surprising at all that they would struggle ATS. That's not a trend or angle that surprised me, Ralph. Good stuff.
So again, general overview, off an overtime game, a small fade, off an overtime win with no rest is a clear fade. Well, yesterday we went to Mr. COVID cancellation. For those that watch the college basketball show, I think probably 25% of Koken's college basketball and college football plays this year have been canceled. We used the Knights last night. It, of course, was canceled, so no play of the day. We turned to Prez. It's Friday. Prez, what's the Ralph Michaels, Friends of Ralph play of the day?
Ralph, thanks for asking, my friend. The play of the day is the Toronto Raptors. That's my play. I've released it to my clients. I think the Raptors are playing good ball. They kept nice and tight with Milwaukee. I think they're going to absolutely lay the smackdown on Sacramento. There you go. Friends of Ralph play Toronto Raptors.
Appreciate that, Prez.
Guys, that's the show. And what a show it was. Make sure to watch it again. There's some really excellent moments in this show. Anyway, shout out to Andy Lang, Rob Veno, Ralph Michaels, Joe Ranieri. Guys, use the promo code Teddy30. Get 30 days of Teddy's all-access plays for $199. We'll see you all Monday. Have the best weekend ever. And Teddy, take us home with this ridiculous
Enjoy the games.
music.
Good luck. We'll be back again on Monday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon on the East Coast, right here on WagerTalk Today. Cheers.
All right, recap here of what we got, guys. We're going to go Ralph Michaels with Tennessee Martin plus 8.5. You got Steve Merrill, Air Force San Jose State at a Lifetime Fitness, apparently, under 143. You've got Dave Lycan Rutgers here tonight, guys, to get the job done. I'm going to hang with Belmont to get the job done on the road. And Weber State laying the 11.5, our friends at the goal sheet. It's been a nice 9-1 run with these best bets over the last couple of days. We look to continue that, and you guys should look to continue over to WagerTalk.com.